Hello, everyone, and welcome to this webinar, which is sponsored by the INCBA, the International Cannabis Bar Association, along with the Europe chapter, and it's on the ins and outs of the new and hotly debated subject of Germany goes rec, what is changing and what is not. I would say malicious tongues would say the latest change of law that legalizes cannabis as per 1st April this year in Germany, in fact, is only a decriminalization, not a real legalization. This and other subjects will be touched upon by my dear colleague in the first half of this webinar. My name's Daniel Haymann. I'm a cannabis lawyer in Switzerland. I'm also the co-founder of INCBA Europe chapter. Kai-Friedrich Niermann is our man on point in Germany. He will introduce in 30 minutes in the first half of this session a small presentation on what the status is in Germany. And he has his own law firm in Paderborn in Germany. And Robert Jappie is here with us from Field Fisher in London. Both these chaps I've been knowing now for the last 5-6 years. I remember I called them both up, asking them how they established a cannabis practice in their respective jurisdictions. I was very inspired to do the same in Switzerland. So we've become great friends, and I'm very much looking forward to hearing from Kai now on what's hot and what's not in Germany.
Thank you very much, Daniel. Thank you, INCBA team, for having me here today. So let's jump right into it. Here we go. So, yeah, as you all know, we have a new regime in place for cannabis in Germany since the 1st of April. What is changing and what is not, we will see today. We will touch all three areas: CBD, medical cannabis, and recreational cannabis. And we will start with CBD. So these are the products, the CBD products we knew since 2017. 2017, the first CBD products came up on the market. And there was a hype, clearly, in 19, 20, 21. But this hype is definitely over because the enforcement of the novel food regulations since 2019 was pretty successful. CBD oils are not longer on the market as food, even on the shelves of the big drugstore chains, but mainly as a cosmetic oral care product. We will come to that later. We have still partly prosecution on the ground of the Narcotic Act against CBD products. That should stop now, but the new law has its own problems. Because THC was listed separately in the annex of the Narcotic Act. And the applications for approval as novel food are on the way, especially the application of the European Industrial Hemp Association. We have some news from the UK. Maybe Robert can elaborate on that later on. And the CBD oils as an oral care cosmetic product was possible because there was a cosmetic study in Belgium by Veronica Stahl and Mr. Vesudivan, and they found out that CBD has an antibacterial effect in the mouth, in the cavity. For that, it's of course you can use CBD products, CBD extracts as a mouth care product. So it has cosmetic function to take care of the mouth, of the cavity. And this is how it looks like. It's cosmetic. You have to name it cosmetic oral care spray with hemp leaf extract. This is a typical example of this product still in the market here. But of course, there are problems, as always. This is highly disputed. There is the administrative court of Hamburg and of Düsseldorf saying this is all right, this is okay, because they are cosmetic products and not food, since absorption through the oral mucosa does not represent absorption through the gastrointestinal tract. No application of the novel food regulation. Great. Furthermore, there is no consumer expectation that CBD oils are food. The decisive factor is the labeling of the product, which the average consumer also observes. So if you label your product as an oral care product, these both courts assume that the consumer will be compliant. But in the south of Germany and Berlin, the administrative courts decided that this is a circumvention strategy and said that it's food and the novel food directive is applicable. So this brings us to the absurd situation that you can trade these oils in Hamburg and North Rhine-Westphalia, but not in the south and not in Berlin. And you must be very careful with the label. You have to write on the label that it is not suitable for consumption, that you have to spit it out after 30 seconds and do not swallow. So complicated situation, no real relief, even not with the new law. Sorry, my voice today is a little bit stressed. So then we have the debate on the acceptable daily intake. Robert, you remember I asked you that two years ago if there is a discussion or a debate on this problem in the UK, and you said, no, I don't have heard about that. So now we have this decision from the Cologne court saying that even with 18 milligrams daily intake, it is a medicinal product because there is a pharmacological effect with these 18 milligrams. And just lately, the FSA recommended only 10 milligrams per day, coming from 70 milligrams per day. But there is the case law of the European Court of Justice, which requires exceeding the significance threshold, scientific proof in each individual case. So if there is not a significant pharmacological effect, it can't be a medicine. And it has to be decided on a case-by-case basis. So this is another problem we have to keep in mind. Then CBD flowers and hemp leaf tea. There's a great demand. CBD flowers are very popular in Germany, but the law enforcement still deems CBD flowers as a narcotic, or has deemed as a narcotic, due to a possible risk of intoxication. Police raids and court sentences against traders happen on a daily basis. And the Annex 1 of the Narcotic Act was misuse of intoxication has to be ruled out. And this is now in paragraph 1, number 9 of the new KKG. And the Federal High Court of Justice, the BGH, decided if you bake 15 grams of CBD flowers in a cookie, there may be the chance of an intoxication with 15 milligram THC. The misuse of intoxication clause may be deleted in a new industrial hemp law. The Federal Ministry of Agriculture is currently working on. We are in close contact with them. And the next meeting is in May, in the middle of May. So we will know then if this law is really coming and when, probably at the end of the year. And only then, when the new law comes and the misuse of intoxication clause is deleted, CBD flowers and hemp leaf tea can be treated freely with a THC percentage with 0.3. And there are two lawsuits pending, initiated by my office. It's CBD flowers and hemp leaf tea. We applied for a decree at the Office of Consumer Protection on the grounds of the EU freedom of goods, of the free movement of goods principle, because these products are legal in Belgium, Austria, and Luxembourg. And if they are legal there, they have to be legally tradable in Germany as well. These law cases are pending since 2021. And I just got the answer from the Administrative Court of Braunschweig that these cases will be decided, or that there will be a hearing this year. So that's if either the new law comes or this decision comes. So let's see. So conclusions: CBD oils and extracts and isolates are not marketable as food. Note: CBD infused edibles, beverages, gummies, etc. are not legal. Because all the distribution can be stopped anytime by the authorities. The CBD oils as a cosmetic oral care product, partly marketable in certain regions, if correctly labeled. The novel food authorization by the EU Commission is indispensable for the CBD market, for the CBD food and supplement market. but this is on the way. So the IR is starting their toxicological studies with 400 participants in Portugal at the end of the summer, and we expect the results next year. Yeah, the marketability of CBD flower is still unclear. Only a change in law, and CBD cosmetics and CBD e-liquids are marketable if no health claims are made. Yeah, HHC was a big thing the last 2 years. Huge revenues companies achieved when selling HHC. It's not listed in the annexes of the Narcotic Acts, and either the Narcotic Act or the new Psychoactive Substances Law. It's a semi-synthetic cannabinoid, maybe residues of heavy metals in the catalysis process stays. So you have to be very, very careful when producing these products. And it is maybe intoxicating. Yeah, it is intoxicating. We know that by now. Intoxication is per se a health risk. Yes, maybe this argument was used by local authorities to issue distribution bans against individual companies on the ground of the Tobacco Product Directive, because you can only use safe ingredients for e-liquids. But the lawmaker in Germany issued a new decree to change the annex of the new Psychoactive Substances Law. So HHC4, H4, CBD, THCP will be listed probably in June and then federally illegal. But you know, there's the other one already on the horizon, the next one, the 10-HHC, which is not covered by this new decree. So in the end, you can't win the race against the development of new semi-synthetic cannabinoids, I guess. Kratom is not very popular in contrast to the Czech Republic. There it is very popular and you can buy it freely. It's also not listed. It's not an internationally not controlled substance. Maybe a food tea from a third country with a history of safe use, according to Article 3 of the new Novel Food Directive, because we know that in certain areas in Asia, it is used on a daily basis for health problems, for pain, etc. But of course, there's an sort of an addiction risk because it has like an opioid effect on your body. So the solution, illegal market, just ban it, or like the Czech Republic, they drafted a Psychomodulatory Substances Act, and this act reached the parliament. And this is an approach for internationally unregulated substances like HHC and like Kratom to sell it in shops, to regulate it, to license these shops, and to oblige these shops to provide prevention information, to provide information on the use and on the effects of the substance. And I think this is the better approach than just to ban it and push it into the black market. Okay, adult use. Yeah, we had these federal elections in 2021, and we had a new government, the Traffic Light Coalition, consisting of Social Democrat, the Green Party, and the Liberals. And they agreed in November 21 that they want to introduce a controlled distribution of cannabis to adults for consumption purposes in licensed stores. Let's see what has been left of this goal. Health protection was the primary goal. They always said that child and youth protection, product quality and prevention, of course, and illegal market and crime displacement. There were lots of legal problems coming along with legalization, especially the Single Convention of 1961, the source of all evil, which restricted the trade of cannabis to scientific and medical purposes. There were lots of solutions we discussed in 2022. There was this expert hearing with the Federal Drug Commissioner. So you can use a respectful non-compliance like Canada, unscheduling of cannabis, highly unlikely, an amendment via simple procedure, also highly unlikely, but could trigger useful political debate. the most the most efficient solution would be termination and reaccession with the reservation of cannabis, and then inter-se modification procedures, which means you agree on trade agreements with other nations who will also want to trade cannabis. Then we have the EU law, which is even more problematic for Germany. There is Article 71 of the Schengen Acquis, but this is only relevant for trans-border solutions. The most problematic regulation is the framework decision of 2004. So there you see that each member state shall take the necessary measures to ensure that the production, manufacture, extraction, preparation, etc., and the cultivation of the cannabis plant. So you see here this word without right. I marked it yellow. There was the decision, if you legalize cannabis domestically, the clause is not applicable anymore, because then you have a right to manufacture, to extract, and to brokerage, to cultivate. But the German government wasn't as brave enough as to follow this this legal opinion from von Kempen and Fedorova. So what they did is to reduce their legalization efforts to number 2, when it is committed by its perpetrators exclusively for their own personal consumption, as defined by national law. So this led to column 1, decriminalization of 25-gram possession in public and 50 gram at home, homegrown of 3 living plants, harvest limited to 50 gram, and in the reasoning of the law, they wrote you're supposed to successively harvest your cannabis plant, which you can see what they know next to nothing about cultivating cannabis, the authors, and cannabis cultivation clubs for collective home growing, because they are privileged under UN agreement and EU law, as we saw before. In my opinion, and lots of other legal opinions, you could have legalized the commercial route in Germany, as the Czech Republic is still trying to do. But of course, this would have been an infight with the EU Commission, with other EU member states like Sweden, like France, which are really strict on this. In the whole concert of the European nations and all the problems with COVID-19 and the war in the Ukraine, Germany refrained from taking this route, and made this small solution. Now edibles allowed, now extraction allowed, except of CBD, but hashish and live rosin is allowed at home and in the cannabis cultivation clubs. Column 2 is the model projects. They were mentioned also in the session of Mr. Lauterbach and Cem Özdemir, the 2 ministers in charge for this project in April last year. We'll learn about that later. So details of column 1, paragraph 2 of the new cannabis law of the KCANG, everything is forbidden. You see, cannabis possession, growing, producing, etc. And then you only have a little exemption here in paragraph 3, that persons at the age of 18 are allowed to possess of cannabis for personal consumption. Cannabis is forbidden, even the possession, but not up to 25 grams. Possession of 25.1 gram cannabis is a fine. Possession of 30.1 gram is punishable again. Imprisonment up to 3 years. And there was a really, really awful decision of the Federal High Court just lately, just 1 week ago, and they want to stick to their old judgments that 7.5 gram of THC substance in the confiscated product is an extreme severe case, which means that in every case where people are caught with 30.1 gram, the imprisonment is automatically 3 months, 3 months minimum punishment. Crazy. So the lawmaker has to improve the situation and change that, unfortunately. So you see, it's all really strict and all really still very prohibitive on the law enforcement side. Then you have a prohibition of consumption in public areas with inside, which means up to 100 meters, according to the law, from kindergartens, playgrounds, schools, and youth facilities, and in pedestrian zones. The prohibition of consumption near children and minors, also for medical patients, will be fined. And there are numerous new conflicting penal and fine regulations, which causes headache for almost everyone, for the police, for the consumers, etc., and especially for the cannabis associations. Obtaining cannabis from the illegal market is still illegal. The consequences are quite unclear right now. In case of mere possession, the origin doesn't matter, the police says, but they still have all the means in their hand. But still now, we saw the pictures from Brandenburger Tor in Berlin at the 1st of April, and at 420 day, this genie is out of the bottle. So even if they have the means, they won't use it anymore because the public opinion is strong about this now. Yeah, cannabis possession and consumption still stigmatized. Seeds and clowns, that's very interesting, because, oh, sorry, that was the wrong yellow. This was supposed to be cannabis, because this is the Article 1, Single Convention 1961, definition for cannabis. And there you see that cannabis is cannabis when it's flowering, when it has flowering or fruiting tops. Okay, and Article 2 says cannabis, so cannabis needs to have flowering or fruiting tops, and seeds and clowns don't have that. You see the definition for cuttings is exactly the definition from the Single Convention, and propagation material is excluded from the term of cannabis in the new KCANG. So this means that seed importation for homegrown and cultivation clubs from within the EU is possible, as seeds are not listed in the Single Convention, and also domestic commercial trade is possible. We see that right now, hundreds of companies are selling clones and seeds right now and preparing for the business. It's the same with the clowns. A clown doesn't have a fruiting or a flowering part as well. So they are also not defined as cannabis, according to the new law. Cannabis needs to flower or have fruit. And so we think that the trade of seeds and clowns is possible. The law doesn't exclude it explicitly. And of course, it is in line with the international definitions of Article 1 of the Single Convention. But as always in cannabis, we had the first police raid 2 weeks after. This was a shop in north of Germany. And the authorities, the local authorities and the police came and confiscated all of these cutlings, of these clones, but without any proper reasoning. They said they will issue a press release yesterday. Let's see, this week, probably there will be some news on this case as well, but there are no legal arguments for forbidding the distribution of these products. Okay, some more details of column 1, cultivation association. The most important thing is it's not for profit, prohibition of employment of third parties for cultivation, no full-time jobs in cultivation, limited to 500 persons, no multiple memberships possible, numerous regulations on production, dispensing, documentation, reporting requirements, and the authorities have numerous inspection and access rights. And in my view, the concept is not suitable for small clubs like 7 people because of all these documentation and reporting requirements. And for big clubs, the financing will be a problem. If you have 500 members and 500 members taking 50 grams per month, you have to produce 300 kilograms per year. and you will already have a decent growth for 300 kilogram. But how to finance that if you can't make profit? And the bureaucratic overkill for these cannabis clubs. So I doubt that there will be a large number of cannabis associations will establish in Germany. Yeah, all this thing was driven by an over-complying with international and EU obligations and a health policy alarmism by the Federal Health Ministry rather than a human rights and justice approach. Yeah, column 2, the model projects. These are the bullet points from the cornerstone paper from last year. As I mentioned already, it should be the initial plan was to set up to draft an on law for this column, for this model projects. Now there are some rumors on the floor that you can do model projects with the K10G itself alone, but it's not formally confirmed yet. So we will see, probably will in the next 2 or 3 weeks, we will get more information on column 2, and nothing is defined yet. That is the study design, financing, group of participants, and as we saw in the Netherlands and in Switzerland, clarification and implementation may take years if you have really proper model projects implemented. So let's see how that will unfold. Okay, and then we come to medical, the last point here. I have to hurry up. Yeah, the most important development was the declassification. So cannabis is not a narcotic anymore. It is regulated, but this is no label use. I learned from Professor Veit, not an off-label use and no label use medicine. So descheduled cannabis. That means for the physician that he doesn't have to do a risk assessment anymore regarding a possible addiction when prescribing medical cannabis. He now has to weigh the risks anymore because there is no addiction risk involved in the decision anymore. You don't have to follow the narcotic prescription procedures anymore. That means less documentation, no security measures, obligations for retailers and pharmacies anymore. Telemedicine is possible. Number of prescriptions are expected to explode. So Finn Hensel said a couple of days ago that in the first 3 weeks of April, 70,000 new patients came on the market. This is a boost for the medical cannabis industry. You hear that everywhere from all producers, from all distributors, from all pharmacies. And this leads maybe to the development that the medical market is the real recreational market. We already hear criticism from pharmacists and patients and pharmacist associations that this has to be stopped, this development, because they only accept the real patient, whoever that is. I think every gram which is not sold in the black market and for people who use cannabis on a daily basis, it is justified to bring it on the medical market. But this is maybe also a development which has to be closely followed. Okay, the restrictions are lifted for medical cannabis cultivation. No limitations on quantity of production, strain type, and number of facilities. You remember the tender procedures like in 2017 to 2020. Nothing like this anymore. The only requirement is the production must follow pharmaceutical standards like GACP and GMP. The German government roughly estimates the settlement of 100 cultivation companies under the new law in their reasoning to the law. This is already in effect since 1st of April. Yeah, and according to Sanity, I mentioned that already. But there's another interesting legal point to keep in mind. This is Article 21 of the Single Convention of 1961. The more you produce domestically, the less you can import. This is the official commentary of the Secretary General of the United Nations by that time. And this is the Article 21 in original. So the already 3 existing licensed medical cultivation companies like Demica, Aurora, and Tilray in their final expansion phase, they can produce 45 to 60 tons alone. Germany imported 30 tons, fresh numbers came out yesterday, 31 tons indeed, of medical cannabis in 2023, and dispensed 19 tons, that's the right number, it was published yesterday, 19 tons to pharmacies. And the medium to long-term consequence, if you want to distribute medical cannabis in Germany, you have to cultivate it in Germany. Like in Canada, Canada doesn't allow any imports because they produce every single gram domestically. This is a sort of a protectionism, but creates the single convention a market sui generis to its origin from international law. And will Germany comply and reduce imports if the domestic ratio will grow? And what about the principle of free movement of goods in the EU? I was asked by Portuguese producers in Barcelona this year if that really can be, because we have this movement, this principle, and which regime prevails, the single convention or the EU law? This is a very, very interesting question. We will also cover at our conference in September in Dortmund. So takeaways: CBD market stays complicated, no changes, new legal products, seeds and clones, and medical, lots of potential. Thank you for your attention.
Excellent stuff, Kai.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much for these super interesting contributions. There was one question maybe that just came up on the Q&A that you could address. And the question was held relatively general. What does this mean for extracts? I guess maybe you can explain. I understand in the medical market, obviously, extracts are can be produced and prescribed, but I guess in the context of the recreational markets.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so the Cannabis Gesetz, the cannabis law, the CanG, is the overall law, which comprises the KCanG, the consumer cannabis law, and the medical cannabis law. And of course, in the medical cannabis law, extracts are allowed, but for the consumer, for the for the private person, it is not allowed to, even if you would do a alcohol extraction with your trim from your harvest in your kitchen, this would be a criminal offense. And cultivation associations are only allowed to produce live rosin and hashish, but they're not allowed to do fat extraction or CO2 extraction. And this is not valid for CBD. But CBD is mentioned as a single substance, so this can only mean that you're allowed to extract CBD as an isolate. The thing was, they were afraid of these gummies and sweets where children got to hospital in the US because it's so dangerous, and use protection was the overall goal, and so they just deleted the option of extracting cannabis. Just to
I'm still incredibly surprised somehow by the result of this piece of legislation, which I've had the pleasure to read. And it took me a long time to understand at least part of it. And it's never a good sign if the lawyers don't understand a piece of legislation. But one question here, was that a big gift to the illicit black market? Especially with regard to these cannabis clubs, when you say there is no possibility to essentially finance these clubs, how do you see this?
I mean, what we see right now since 4 weeks, the home grow market is exploding as well. All the head shops and home grow was always there in Germany. Every municipality, every city had at least 2 or 3 head shops, grow shops, where you could buy the products for growing cannabis at home, and they are sold out. And the companies which produce these products sold out, and they need to employ more workers to start producing again. Everyone seems to home grow at least right now, or tried in the first season here. I think this will have a real effect on the black market, which you will see and which you will, which is significant.
You think that is
cannabis associations? This part of the law is only valid or comes into force at the 1st of July. And the first licenses have to be granted within 3 months. So before October this year, we won't see any licenses being granted to an association. I mean,
I remember we had a conversation. I remember we had a conversation not just about financing these clubs, which will be difficult, but also the general requirements that are extremely burdensome. For example, that you need to have separate rooms and you cannot consolidate. There's been a conversation about potentially consolidating the grow clubs. Is that something that is off the table? I think I know the answer, but maybe you could elaborate
what do you mean
on
consolidating?
Consolidate clubs, basically, to use economies of scale to have a bigger production site, so to speak.
Like using synergy effects.
That's exactly right. And using a big facility and under one roof, and have 6, 7, 10, 20 cannabis clubs under one roof, and then use one master grower. And then maybe you can say why that's a challenge or not really going to happen.
Yeah, you remember the 23rd of March, there was the Federal Council session, and it was not clear if the law will pass or not. And so the Federal Minister of Health, Karl Lauterbach, issued his protocol declaration. And there he was promising that the cannabis associations will be restricted to a standalone facility, and that services that people you commission can only offer one service at a time. So it is not possible to build a cultivation facility, to put all the interior in, all the things you need, all the growing facility, all the growing equipment, and to rent this whole thing in one piece to the Cannabis Association. That's not possible anymore. There were lots of business models like this preparing already to have that. Yeah, the whole plant rented to the association. That's not possible anymore, because this is this over-complying thing, which I mentioned earlier. They want to over-comply with the EU regulations because they were in fear that if you allow that, like these huge facilities, the huge farms are evolving, which are too commercially, and this would contradict the EU regulations again. So, yeah.
So essentially, if everybody, just to get this right, so everybody's allowed to grow at home. We know for a fact that not every cannabis consumer now, becomes a hobby botanist. And so some of that may actually boost the illicit market. And what does that mean for enforcement? Is there a realistic scenario that enforcement will increase, or is this legalization accepted by, well, I guess that remains to be seen to some extent, but what do you think this will mean for Germany in terms of realistic enforcement of these laws, and especially with a black market that is set to get a boost by all this?
Yeah, I'm also a board member of Law Enforcement Against Prohibition Germany. And my colleague is on the board. He's a police officer, and another female police officer. And they say already now, after 4 or 5 weeks, they're not going after cannabis anymore. They changed all their plans, all their routines, and cannabis is not a topic anymore. So they really feel the relief of the first 2 weeks already, and they can concentrate on other stuff, which is like political crimes attacks on politicians, etc., etc. All these crazy public debate stuff and demonstrations and all this. So they are really happy with the new development. And I think cannabis will vanish out of these control, coerce, paranoia system already in the police system, in the law enforcement system. That will be normal part of the culture in Germany eventually.
Yeah. Interesting.
I have a question, if that's okay.
Of course.
Great presentation, Kai. Thank you very much. You gave a bit of background about the sort of political environment that created this opportunity with the coalition governments that had both campaigned on manifesto pledges to legalize cannabis. I don't follow German politics that closely, surprisingly, but I do understand that you have another election coming relatively soon, and this coalition might not last too much longer. Does that cause a problem for legalization plans, or do you think the genie is out of the bottle now? You know, the cat's out of the bag. I don't know what the German equivalent of that saying would be, but once it starts, they can't stop it, right? Sorry.
Yeah. No, this law is now this law now is safe because there is no other constellation imaginable where not one of the old parties was part of the current coalition and who legalized cannabis. So the conservatives, like the Republicans in the US, they finally realized that legalizing cannabis is a good idea, and they don't even want to draw back to go back in time. That won't happen. That is safe now.
And how much sort of autonomy do the individual regions and provinces in Germany have in terms of how restrictive they can be? I understand the expectation is there probably won't be much cannabis in Bavaria, say, for example, compared to other states, other regions. Is that the case?
Yeah. For example, there is this one guy in Bavaria selling CBD flowers and hemp products since decades. And he wants to open a cannabis association in his hometown in Aschaffenburg. And he went to the townhouse, talked to the authority, to the officials there, introducing his plans. And what did they do? They just built a small kindergarten, a small playground, really maybe 20 square meters, just in front of this place. After they got to hear about his plans, to prevent it being illegally, to prevent that he can apply for a license.
Wow.
But his legal argument is
because they know you can't be close to a school or a playground. They built a playground to stop him doing. Okay.
Yeah, you need a minimum distance of 200 meters.
Yeah.
So they just built a little playground there. But his legal argument is now, I was first, you were second.
Yes.
I have my right here.
Yes.
But
okay.
that's
so you're actually
kinds of legal disputes you have to expect.
Okay, interesting. Oh, fascinating stuff. And sorry, one more question for me. Is there any opportunity now for sort of branding of products or brands or social clubs or anything like that at this stage, or are we going to have to wait till Pillar 2 before we can start thinking about branding, marketing, advertising, that kind of thing?
Yeah, so there's in paragraph 6 of the KKNG, there's the general ban on advertising. And advertising is defined as all activities which promote the consummation of cannabis. So you have to figure out what that means in the next coming month and years. Branding could already be a problem for a social club, and it's the advertising ban is for cannabis and for cannabis associations. So you probably can only have a little sign at your door with your name, like in Spain, like the social clubs in Spain. They are very very discreet from their outer appearance. That will be the same here. How that will unfold in the internet or in what is it, in influencer campaigns or viral campaigns, social media campaigns, we will have to see. Because they somehow they have to get known and they have to acquire member, and that is the goal, that they have member and that the members are supplied by these shops. So there you need to find the right balance from the law.
And how far I'm going to hold you to this as well. What's your prediction on how far away we are from Pillar 2?
As I mentioned, there were some rumors the last couple of days. I personally think that doesn't work, because that would be like the old law. You could apply for a model project under the old law as well. Berlin did that in 2015 with a big initiative. And this initiative was started by the Green Party. And this initiative, this model project application, then led to the Cannabis Control Act by the Greens, which they put to Bundestag, which they brought to submitted to Bundestag. But the BfArM always said, no model projects, no interest, much too dangerous, no, not possible. If you use this research clause in paragraph 2 of the new law, potentially everyone can apply for a model project, like a company or a community or a municipality. But this can't be right, because we had so much thoughts about complying with EU law and sending this Pillar 2 to the EU Commission for notification, and etc., and sharing the findings with the EU partners. And what's the thing? And what's
it's definitely interesting
how that could really work. But
it's
if that's
definitely going to be,
that is possible, maybe they issue a guideline how to apply for a model project. And if you comply with these guidelines from the now in charge, from the authority in charge now, the BLE, maybe it works. Yeah, but let's see. Hard to tell right now. I can't imagine that this is the way the government wants to proceed.
It's interesting to see how this will play out. In any case, it appears as if it's not a contradiction with the single convention, considering these trials are always in the context of scientific research. On the other hand, what we saw in Switzerland, for example, is that, and it's by now in May, it's already 3 years, that the amendment to the Narcotics Act has been implemented, whereby pilot trials are possible, and we even have a very detailed ordinance under which conditions pilot trials can be realized. And it took the companies, I would say most of them, 2 years to set up the pilot trials and to get ready and to actually get them off the ground, because you need a research institute, and it really you need a scientific study design that, and it takes time to prepare for it. So it's not just a quick fix. You really have to have a solid scientific reason to conduct a trial. But definitely this is
who is in
part
charge
of the plan,
these model projects? The company or the municipality?
Well, in Switzerland, it's multi-tiered. It's all of them. You need a municipality to basically give you the go-ahead for the trial. Some municipalities are against, some support the idea. So you definitely need some clout politically in the municipalities. You need a research institution. You need the Federal Office of Public Health. In certain instances, you need the ethics committee to approve. Well, in most instances, the ethics committee to approve a trial as well. So it's quite an elaborate program that needs to be put together. But it's always scientific research. And in Switzerland, it's very, very well regulated. So you have certain restrictions, like maximum 5,000 people per trial. It's limited in time, 5 years, with the possibility to extend another 2 years. a total THC content may not exceed 20%. For products with oral intake, for example, the THC content cannot exceed 10 milligrams per serving. As we know, this is quite a lot, so that's great. Interesting is that also in these trials, edibles are possible. So the whole novel food regulation essentially is bracketed out in the trials, and that we know from a public health point of view, it can be very attractive to substitute smokables with edibles. So that's a very interesting approach. And potentially, especially if you have public health and protection of youth, is a different story. Obviously, you're not allowed to advertise. It's the same concept everywhere. And we have already quite a lot of projects actually underway now. And even had the first results, if I'm already at it, from a wheat care trial in Basel. I think, when was it? End of March. The first results came out. It's essentially Basel City that presented. It's the local health authorities that published those results. And the satisfaction with pharmacy as a source of supply, interestingly, was very high. The product range, that was people were not happy with the product range. They expect a bit more options, especially edibles and vapes, which are readily accessible in the black market. Essentially, you need to know in Switzerland, in the illicit market, you get every product you see on the shelves in California, you get in the black market here, relatively easily. There's Telegram groups. You can add yourself to the Telegram group. Is a quick fix. Prices are not insanely high. So that's why if you actually try to get people away from the illicit market, you really have to have a big product range. And one of the big issues was also quality. So people are quite spoiled and really want to make sure that if you have, in Switzerland, we have an issue that the products that are supplied to the pilot trials can only be from biological bioproduction. So, you know, without being cynical, but many of the illicit market consumers are used to indoor production. Interestingly, in some of the trials, people are very happy with the quality. So it's not as if you can't grow the same type of quality or very similar type of quality in outdoor or greenhouse production that is soil-bound production. Yeah, but these are sort of the issues that are arising at the moment. So to summarize,
Daniel, tell me,
this actually feeds in nicely to a question that Farida has asked about how they'll deal with quality within Pillar 1. So I'm just going to expand a bit on what she said. She's asked, will there be campaigns to educate the home grower to grow clean and good quality flour? Will there be lab testing available for people who are engaging in home growing? And then I think I'd probably extend that and say, are there going to be any standards imposed upon the clubs? Are they going to, you know, is there going to be extensive investigation and analysis to make sure that they are producing good quality product for their members? Or is it a case of people will vote with their feet? If they're getting bad quality product, they'll leave that club and go somewhere else?
Yeah, so for home grow, there are no requirements whatsoever, not at all, nothing. So you can grow your cannabis on your own and you consume it on your own responsibility.
But is anyone putting forward a campaign to educate people on how to home grow? I assume maybe there's a business there in itself, right?
Mostly about the head shops, about the existing head shops, and they are now in the position to give advice. Before the law, it was what is it, aiding and abetting, and was a criminal offense. And now they can offer these services for sure.
Right. Okay. Interesting. Yeah. We have that in the UK. You know, we have head shops and shops that sell cultivation equipment, and they have to make it clear it's not to be used for illegal purposes. So this obviously would change.
Only for pepperoni.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, what about the clubs?
And there are some businesses, some consultants coming up and offering these services for home growers. But if you, for example, Vincent Reed is very popular. He's a YouTuber, and he's tons of videos how to put the seed with soil correctly, and all these phases. And you find so much advice in the internet. If you want to home grow, you can start easily. You can easily start your private business in your flat or wherever on your balcony. And
what about the clubs? Are they going to have much oversight, or is there going to be someone?
The associations, there is in paragraph 17, the Federal Minister of Agriculture has to draft a decree together with the Federal Minister of Health and with the consent of the Federal Council on the requirements for the production of flowers in cannabis associations in regard to microbiology, heavy metals, pesticides, etc., etc. And this decree is not drafted yet. In my opinion, it has to be enforced before the first application can be processed by the authorities. But there is no testing requirement. The Cannabis Association should find out regularly if their product complies with this. So it is good for Cannabis Association to have a COA every now and then, but there's no regular coercing procedure in place, which they would have to be compliant with.
Okay, so but Kai,
sort of,
the reality is we're probably not going to see so many cannabis clubs at the end of the day. So this is a big, as you alluded to already earlier, and also for listeners, the commercial opportunities.
Imagine that. You remember the drama with the Federal Council last time. If they have to approve this decree, they may set up the standards like pharmaceutical grade. And then the cannabis associations are done. Then you don't have to start.
Okay, but that gives a big boost to the medical markets, as you say. And we need to keep an eye a little bit also where the commercial opportunities are. So maybe you can summarize again. We said seeds and clones could be a potential area of commercial opportunity. There is also...
It's right now. It's happening.
It is happening. Grow shops, obviously, education for home grow. Anything that's related to these cannabis associations, probably not that much. The medical markets are taking off much more prescriptions.
The cannabis lawyer market.
The lawyers always have a lot of explaining to do. That's for sure, especially in these circumstances here. I'm just wondering, we talked about Switzerland having pilot trials. Robert, anything happening in the UK on potential trials or legalization, or where's the UK at? Just to round this off.
This is the thing you have to remember. Kai said that when Pillar 1 was announced, there was 70,000 new registrants, medical cannabis registrants, just for one company.
No, I don't.
Well, I mean, that's more than the whole UK market at the moment. You know, there's more than the patients we have here in the UK medical cannabis sector. So, on a very optimistic and positive view, we've probably got around 50,000 patients. That's the number that I'm hearing. So the reality is we need to grow the medical market here before we can start talking about anything else. You know, recent studies show there's between 1.4 and 1.8 million people in the UK self-medicating with cannabis from the illicit market. So it should be entirely possible for us to get up to 200, 300, 400,000 patients in the legal market. Once we hit those kinds of figures, I think then you'll start to maybe see a conversation. But for the moment, no, it's not a topic of discussion here.
Yeah. Kai, just a little bit more, because we're already approaching the end of this session. So I just want to ask a few more questions on the relationship between the medical market and the recreational market. Do you see this? We've seen also already on the first day when legalization happened, some companies coming out with all kinds of claims, get your prescription for €1 and so on, and you're going to get, and then also some videos, very questionable from my point of view, on possibility, better options to drive your car while intoxicated if you're a cannabis patient, or at least sort of alluding to the fact that it may be a facilitated way of driving high. How do you see these questionable, acquisition tactics play out, and what repercussions do these players have to face or potentially face from the legislator?
It's a valid question, and the debate on the conservative pharmacists and physicians is like if that goes on, the reimbursement of the flower will stop, and if you want to get reimbursed, then you can only use extracts and not flowers anymore, because the flowers are misused for recreational purposes, etc. But I think everyone agrees, especially the Traffic Light Coalition, that the medical cannabis program in Germany was a huge success. I mean, where does a patient start? How severe must the condition be that you are entitled to smoke flowers or inhale flowers? And now it was the decision by the lawmaker that you can prescribe cannabis for back pain or for glaucoma or for whatever. And this is the way now. And if a company exaggerates its advertising activities, which is not compliant with the HWG, with the Heilmittelwerbegesetz, then authorities have to step in. If the quality of the flowers are defect, if there is mold or whatever, if the supply chain isn't working correctly, the authorities have to step in. And but you can't get the system away anymore. This is it was a huge success. We have lots of hundreds of thousands of patients now steadily supplied with good products, and in my opinion, everyone who uses cannabis on a daily basis has some sort of precondition and is entitled to cannabis.
I think we all agree that every gram consumed through the legal markets, fully track and traced, high quality production is better than something bought off the illicit market. I can just say in Switzerland, obviously the authorities, Swissmedic, would have shut that down a long time ago, these types of tactics. But at the same time, we might face a market like in Florida, where most recreational patients end up being patients. It seems to be the trend.
I mean, it was in California, wasn't it the same? They started as a medical market. And then after full legalization, the medical market lost its
correct
significance. Of course, this can happen, but yeah.
Where does this? Is it true that I just heard that if someone is a real, very strongly affected patient that is really dependent on highly dosed medicine in cannabis, if that patient would like to procure cannabis in the legal market, the doctor needs to give approval, or how does that work?
What do you mean?
The doctor needs to approve a patient procuring, or for example, a patient would like to have a home grow, because some of these, whatever is prescribed, is partially reimbursed by the health insurance, right?
You shouldn't tell your physician that you want to home grow.
Is that the tenor? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, I understand.
Because it's his treatment, it's his plan, it's his piece of art. And
of course.
You can't interfere in that.
Of course. All right. I think we've hit the end of this session. I would like to thank Kai. You've been speaking a lot. Farida made a very important comment here that you should drink tea with honey on a regular basis. That would help. But we understood you very well. And well, thank you very much for this in-depth analysis, and Robert as well. And I would like to take this opportunity to alert you to the CB Expo conference at the INCBA in Dortmund on the 19th and 20th of September this year. We are going to have the second INCBA Europe legal track conference for lawyers and legal professionals. We're going to have people from all over Europe, also from the US, even one Panamanian candidate, someone from Colombia who will join us to really cover in-depth, complex legal questions surrounding cannabis. It's also a very good opportunity to join a fantastic conference, the CB Expo, which is quite large, one of the largest in Europe. And all of that in the context of the INCBA, which is a very big tobacco conference. I very much recommend you join. If you have any questions, reach out. And I would like to close this session and thank you, everybody. And feel free to ask further questions by email. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
Kai.
you.
Good to see
Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Bye.